Hey there, welcome to Low Carb Me and You. I'm Alexander, and today I have an absolute treat for you. We're going to whip up some delicious low carb waffles. Waffles hold a special place in my heart as a family tradition, especially during the festive season. But since most of my mom's recipes are carb heavy, I decided to create a version that's almost carb free while still maintaining that mouth-watering waffle goodness. And guess what? We don't even need cheese to make it work. Let's take a look at our star ingredient, eggs. They give our waffles that delightful texture and hold everything together. We'll also need almond flour, butter, erythritol or your preferred sweetener, baking powder, kitchen salt, vanilla extract, and a touch of vinegar. Before we dive into the batter, let's prepare our dry ingredients. Grab a bowl large enough to whisk everything in. Add the almond flour, about 2/3 of your chosen sweetener, baking powder, and salt. Whisk it all together, ensuring there are no lumps. Set it aside for now. Now on to the wet ingredients. We'll need 2 bowls to separate the eggs. Crack 2 eggs carefully, separating the whites and yolks. There are a couple of methods you can use to separate eggs, and I'll show you 2. Method 1. Gently pour the yolk back and forth between the eggshell halves, allowing the whites to drip into a bowl. Be cautious not to break the yolk. Alternatively, method 2. Pour the eggs into your hand, letting the egg whites slip through your fingers. It's a bit messier, but it keeps the yolks intact. Once we've separated 2 eggs, add the last whole egg to the yolks. Set the egg whites aside for now. Take the bowl with the yolks and add the vanilla extract and vinegar. The vinegar will react with the baking powder when combined, adding a touch of airiness without altering the taste. Whisk or fork everything together until the mixture turns a consistent yellow without streaks. Now let's focus on the egg whites. Grab a large bowl for beating them. Add the egg whites and the remaining sweetener to the bowl. If you have a mixer, beat the eggs on high speed until they form stiff peaks. If you don't have a mixer, don't worry. You can use a hand mixer or a whisk and some elbow grease. Before we proceed to the batter, let's melt the butter. Transfer it to a microwave-safe container, making sure it doesn't get hot. Melt the butter in intervals, stirring if needed. We want it to be liquid, but not separated. Now it's time to bring everything together and make the batter. Grab a bowl that's large enough to hold all the ingredients. Add the almond flour mixture to the bowl, followed by the egg yolk mixture. Use a spoon or spatula to mix them together. The batter will start to resemble coarse wet sand. Next, fold in about 1/3 of the beaten egg whites gently. Scoop the batter around and over the egg whites. The more egg whites you incorporate, the more delicate you should be. We want to preserve as much fluffiness as possible, creating that perfect waffle texture. Gradually add the remaining egg whites, folding until you have a semi-wet batter. It doesn't need to be perfect. Finally, pour in about half of the melted butter and fold it into the batter. Once incorporated, add the remaining butter and continue folding until the batter reaches a nice consistency. It will be slightly soggy and won't hold a shape. With the batter ready, it's time to make some mouth-watering waffles. Preheat your waffle iron and gather all your tools. A brush for cleaning the iron between waffles, wooden chopsticks or skewers for lifting the waffles, 2 spoons for scooping the batter, and a wire rack for cooling the waffles. Spoon the batter onto the iron for each waffle and close the lid. Keep in mind that these low-carb waffles take a bit longer to cook than traditional ones. In my experience, it takes about 4.5 minutes to fully cook them. To check if they're ready, try opening the lid. If there's some resistance, they need more time. When they're ready, they should come off easily without sticking. To remove the cooked waffles from the iron, take your chopsticks or skewers and gently slide them under the waffle, working from one side to the other. Once the waffle is loosened from the bottom, slide both chopsticks under and lift the waffle out. Transfer it immediately to a wire rack to cool. Use the brush to clean the iron, ensuring no bits are left behind. This step will prevent burning and sticking of the next waffle. Repeat this process until you've used all the batter. By the way, these waffles are incredibly versatile. If you want to switch up the flavors, you can substitute some or all of the almond flour with other nut flours like macadamia. And if you prefer savory waffles, simply omit the sweetener and vanilla extract. Instead, infuse the butter with your favorite spices and herbs. Just be cautious with coarsely cut herbs, as they can burn easily due to the baking time. Once cooked, you should have around 12 beautiful waffles. Allow them to cool completely, which will help firm them up. If you prefer, you can enjoy them right away. However, if you want to store them for later, place the cooled waffles in an airtight container. Please note that over time, they may become slightly softer. You can even freeze these waffles for several weeks. Just defrost and reheat them in the oven to regain that delightful crunch. These waffles are fantastic on their own, but they also pair perfectly with some delicious toppings. Whipped cream is always a classic choice. Or you can add a burst of freshness with some fresh fruit. Remember, the carb count is so low you can indulge in some fruity goodness. Each waffle contains about 2.5 grams of carbs, 7 grams of protein, 21 grams of fat, and 235 calories. Enjoy this delightful treat, and I'll see you next time. I'd love to hear from you. Have you tried making low-carb waffles before? What are your favorite toppings or flavor variations? Share your experiences and suggestions in the comments below.